Hey everybody, this is the beginning of an accelerated online course. And there's nothing more important in the beginning of an online course than great communication between an instructor and their students. The thing is, if it seems like I'm a little bit rushed, it's because I am. Somebody just picked up my kid, and as soon as this uploads to YouTube, I am jumping in the car and driving down to Anaheim for a conference, which funny enough is on how to be a better online instructor. Life is filled with ironies, isn't it? All right, everybody, welcome to week 1 of CIT 12 online, accelerated during the summer. It's gonna be just a load of fun. Now, as I probably already mentioned in the cold open, which I don't usually film until afterwards, regardless, I am actually gonna be gone for most of week 1. I'm at a conference on how to be a better online instructor. So here's the thing. I'm still available to you 24/7. It's an online class. You could take it from anywhere. You could be in New York right now. You could be in Tahiti, sipping Mai Tais on a beach. I've got no idea, right? Like, the beauty of online classes is flexibility. And so I am going to be on my email 24/7, well, not 24/7, but probably a little more than usual because of the guilt associated with being out of town during the first week of an online class. So regardless, you can still get a hold of me through email or through Canvas, which is pretty much the exact same thing this first week. No worries. This video is actually one of my weekly debriefs. Every week I do a custom video to sort of say, hey, this is what I see going on in the class. This is kind of what I think you need to do, etc., etc. Now, here's the thing. This one is going to be a lot longer than normal because I have to kind of talk about the class in general and what you need to do to succeed. But this is still not going to cover all of the details and policies for the class. If you want to check that out, read the syllabus. There's a link in Canvas. But this is just going to be kind of what to expect and what you need to do to succeed. All right, let's start with by far the most popular question to be asked. What do I need for this class in terms of books, materials, etc.? All you need is a product called My IT Lab. You just need access to it. You can get access in one of two ways. You can buy a card with an access code from the bookstore, or you can purchase direct from Pearson using your credit or debit card just at myitlab.com. In both cases, I've got a video showing you exactly how to register, and you will need the code for this specific class. That code is bold-faced, in red. It'll say Fresno City College and a bunch of numbers. And it'll be both on the page where I have the video showing you how to register for My IT Lab, as well as on the syllabus. So that's the code that you want for this summer course, all right? So use that when registering for My IT Lab. You can do it in one of two ways. Now, if by chance you don't have the money immediately to purchase My IT Lab, I cannot tell you how important My IT Lab is. Every single lab we do is in My IT Lab. Your quizzes will actually be in Canvas, but your practical exams will be in My IT Lab, and the final exam will be in My IT Lab. You cannot succeed in this course without My IT Lab. This isn't like a book you can just not buy, although you shouldn't do that for other classes either. Point being, you need My IT Lab, and you need it immediately. Luckily for you, if you don't have the cash today, what you can do is there's a 14-day free trial for My IT Lab. You sign up for that. You'll be emailed some instructions on how to essentially pay for the account and have it become a full-fledged account. And so then you've got 14 days in which to purchase. All right, so do that immediately. Don't start falling behind. Any work you do during those 14 days, will just roll over into your account so you don't lose any time. And that's kind of the most important thing for this class because it is an accelerated class in the summer, and we are going to fly through the labs. Next most popular question, what are the things I need to do to succeed in this class? Pretty easy. Go to modules in Canvas. Every single week you will see a week 1 module, a week 2 module. Well, you'll only see 6 weeks worth of modules because, again, accelerated class. But in that weekly module, you will see the list of things you need to do. All right? Just consider it a checklist. Start at the beginning, move all the way through. When you're done, you are done with the week, right? Easy. You know what you have to do because it's done almost as a checklist for you right there in the modules every single week. Usually there'll be some sort of a reading, there'll be some sort of a discussion based on that reading, there'll be a quiz based on the reading, or maybe multiple quizzes because in this class, we'll actually cover 2 chapters a week. This first week, we're only covering 1, but usually there'll be 2. And then any labs you need to do, as well as any practical exams you need to do. Anything you need to do will be listed there, and we'll talk about the stuff you have to do later. So basically, do what's in the modules and you will succeed. All right, the next thing I'm going to talk about is probably one of the weirder aspects of the class, and that's my late policy. Here's the thing. Ideally, everything for week 1 is due at the end of week 1. Weeks begin on Monday. They end on Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So 11:59 p.m., the last minute of Sunday, is when everything for that week is due. If you want to be on pace, that should be your goal. Complete everything for week 1 by the end of week 1, complete everything for week 2 by the end of week 2, etc. Now, this is summer. It's an online class. For all my online classes, I want to create a little bit of flexibility. The idea being that, you're adults. You kind of have to work through stuff. Everybody has a bad week. Just don't have 2 in a row. But the idea being everybody has a bad week. You need to be able to schedule around it. So I want to create some flexibility. But within that flexibility, some hard deadlines. There's some philosophy about this, an interview with Google. Check the syllabus if you care. But point being, I have a 1-week grace period for all assignments. So all your week 1 assignments, if you don't get them done by the end of week 1, you can actually turn them in all the way through week 2, no penalty. No penalty whatsoever. Now here's the problem. That's going to encourage some of you to just do everything a week late, which effectively then means that you don't get a grace period anymore. You're just 1 week behind constantly in the class. That is not the way to do this. Ideally, right, you're using that time and then doubling up your efforts to catch up in week 2 and get everything for week 2 done at the end of week 2. But regardless, you've got some flexibility. Now here's the thing. At the end of week 2, all of week 1's assignments disappear. They go away. You have a 1-week grace period, but after that 1 week, no ability to turn stuff in. All right, so that's the idea. Use that time accordingly. If you decide, hey, I want to take the kids out to Disneyland, awesome. That is a great idea. And if you don't get around to a couple assignments, don't worry. Push them off to the next week. Right? That's a good, adult, responsible thing to do because you've got that time. If you push it off more than a week, then you're hosed. Don't do that. Anyway, that's the idea. A little bit of flexibility, but with some hard deadlines. Now you get one other thing because it's summer. Your labs and the practical exams, the practical exams are based on the labs. That takes the majority of the time in the class. The quizzes take some time, but honestly, if you know how to do like Command F to find something in your ebook, you're probably going to blow through those quizzes pretty quickly. But your labs, those practical exams, because you're actually having to do something, they take the most amount of time. And because I know people, you maybe want to do some stuff in the summer, you got some plans for July, what I'm doing is I'm making everything available in my IT lab, with the exception of the final exam, right from day 1. So you can work ahead if you want to. I don't normally do that. And I don't necessarily recommend it. It's better to space stuff out as much as possible. You tend to learn more when you're not, trying to just blow through things as fast as possible. But for the summer, I'm giving you access to everything in advance. All right, so you've got access to stuff ahead of time if you want to do all of the labs and all of the practical exams in week 1, so that all you have to do in this class are your quizzes, your discussions, and the final exam at the end. You could do that. I don't recommend it, but go see a movie, enjoy yourself, let stuff marinate and percolate. But regardless, you're going to have access to it. Okay, so a little bit more flexibility in summer. Hopefully you like it. All right, now I've talked a lot about these different assignments, so a lot of people have questions about, hey, what exactly is a practical exam? What's the final exam going to be like? That sort of stuff. So let's go ahead and just talk about the types of things that you're going to see in those modules that you need to do every week. The first one are readings. Readings are pretty self-explanatory. Open up the ebook because, of course, you have an ebook inside of My IT Lab. That's where your textbook resides. All you need to purchase is just My IT Lab. But that ebook, give the chapter a read, you're good. Now, I'm going to be honest, most people don't do that. What you do is you reverse engineer. You take the quiz, which will be the next thing I talk about. Every chapter has a quiz associated with it. That is 20 questions, multiple choice, and those questions are taken directly from the chapter. So what you can do is just go to the quiz, find, whatever the main noun is in that quiz question, do a quick find using the little magnifying glass or your Control F, usually Command F if you're on a Mac, like I tend to be, and then type in whatever the main noun is in the question, and you can probably find the answer in the chapter pretty quickly. And so some people will not read, they'll reverse engineer. I would say that's a terrible thing, but I did it as a student too, and now I have a master's degree in computer science. So you know what? I mean, you do what you got to do, right? But that's kind of the way to get through. Readings, do them, but I understand you'll probably do them in conjunction with the quizzes, which are just in Canvas, multiple choice, 20 questions, and you're done. The other thing you're going to see every week based on that chapter is a discussion. Now, boy, in my normal classes, I mean, you're going to have 15, 16, 17 discussions, right? That's a lot, especially when we're covering two chapters. I mean, I just know that this class is super accelerated, all right? And I'm going to try and work with you as much as possible. So what we're going to do is every week, one discussion. Even if we cover two chapters, one discussion. I'm just going to choose the highlights, right? We're just going to go through the ones that students tend to find the most useful during my normal class. So every week there'll be one discussion. There's usually a prompt. I'll tell you what to write. You can click on the link to see the discussions, either by clicking on the discussions link in Canvas or in the module itself. There'll be a link to go straight to that discussion. You'll see the prompt. Sometimes you'll have to watch a video, or I'll have a video showing you how to use a particular tool if I'm wanting you to use a tool. We'll talk about what we're going to do for week one's discussion at the end of this video, but just in general, there's going to be some experience I want you to have. Do that and then write a post. Just following the prompt. Give me your opinions, give me your whatever. A paragraph is great. I mean, paragraphs obviously vary greatly in size. Sometimes 3 sentences if they're really well done. Sometimes, write a couple paragraphs because you're just sort of blabbering about stuff. That's fine. Whatever it is, however you normally write, right? Just put that in. So that's the idea. What I care about is your response to that experience. Now, there's a second part to every discussion, which is you're not going to see anybody else's posts until you make a post. Once you've made your post, read through the other people's and then respond to their post. The idea is we want to create a little bit of a discussion and also try to create maybe a connection between you and other people who are going to do similar things. We'll talk about like week ones in particular, where you're talking about careers and navigating the modern economy because technology is changing stuff. But anyway, so connecting with other people, like, oh, hey, look, this person's also a nursing major and they're kind of like at the same point that I am. Maybe I'll see them in another class. It can be really helpful. Because at the end of the day, college is about building your professional network. There is no greater way to emphasize the value of just having somebody know, oh, wait, there's this guy, Brian. I think he'd be really good for this job. Like, that is how 80% of all jobs in the economy are gained. It's because you know somebody. So anyway, build professional networks. Friends are good. Next are the parts that are going to take the most amount of time, and that's the labs, all right? So the labs are in my IT lab in a simulated environment, and you will be given prompts. So it'll tell you exactly what to do. You go through, you click, you do some stuff. Now, by the way, I actually walk through this at the end of the video where I tell you how to register for my IT lab. I show you exactly how to use my IT lab. But just so you know, in case you don't get to the end of that video, or you can skip to it, obviously. But regardless, go through, it'll tell you exactly what to do, like highlight this word, boldface it. Okay, so then you highlight it, but I don't know how to boldface a word. How do I do it? You'll see a button called Learning Aids or Study Guides. They've changed it in the new version. And you click on it, you get a couple different options. One is going straight to the textbook. You're probably not going to choose that one. The video one actually is fairly helpful, although most students don't choose it, because it can tell you why it is you're doing the thing you're doing. Now for boldface, that doesn't make a lot of sense, but for other stuff like in Excel, it can be really helpful to know why you're doing the thing you're doing. So it gives you a bit more context in the video. And then the last one is the sort of follow along, like try me. where it'll actually like put little marching ants, like a little dashed line that sort of flickers around the things you need to click and tell you exactly where to click to do the thing you need to do. So it can walk you pretty much straight through how to do any of the skills in those labs. That's what you're doing. That's how you're learning. These labs are meant to be formative processes, right? You're learning how to do these individual skills. Now, at the end of every unit, so for the 3 major programs that we're going to cover, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, there's going to be a practical exam. The practical exam works a little differently. What you do is you download files from my IT lab and you use them in your own personal copy of Microsoft Office. Now, before you say anything, I don't own Microsoft Office. Don't worry, I have videos that'll show you how to download Microsoft Office for free as a student at FCC. So you get Microsoft Office for free as a student, links, in the thing. I'll show you how to do it. So don't worry about it. You will have Microsoft Office by the time you're done with this class. But you'll download those files, one of which, like if it's the practical exam on Excel, one of them will be an Excel file. So you open up the Excel file in Excel, you'll open up another file, usually in Word, with all the instructions, and it'll say, okay, based on this document you just opened, or this spreadsheet you just opened, because we're in Excel, do these things to it. It'll have like 15 things that you have to do to that document. Add a formula here, do something. You just go step by step doing those things. Every single one of those were in the labs that you did the week previous, all right? So you just follow along doing it. When you're done, you've finished editing that document, you just upload that spreadsheet, that PowerPoint file, that Word document, whatever it is, you upload it back to my IT lab, it will grade it automatically. I will then look at the automatic grade and fix it because they're usually off. There's just a couple questions where it's like, okay, I know what they were asking. Most people did this. I'm just going to award some points. There'll be a human adjustment to that computerized score. But point being, that's the practical exam. Download files, edit in Microsoft Office, which you will have for free, and then upload back to my IT lab for grading. That's the practical exam. And then lastly, our last week, we have the final exam. The final exam is just one really big quiz. It is 100 multiple choice questions. Those questions, well, the quizzes you got randomly, so I can't tell you whether or not you saw those questions before, but it's likely you've seen a lot of those questions before because they were randomly chosen from the same pools. Point being, just a really long quiz, 100 multiple choice questions from all the chapters, and yeah, you still have access to your textbook. So, Control F. It's going to help you a lot. All right, and now, what are we going to do for week 1? So this is specifically for week 1. I'm done talking about the class in general. What are we going to do this week? This week, we're reading chapter 1. We're only going to cover 1 chapter because we have an extra lab. So I'm cutting down on the number of chapters. Chapter 1 is all about change, how technology is changing things. You already know this. This is irrelevant. This is the most fluffy, dumb chapter they could have come up with. But here's the thing. How is technology changing stuff? Right? Technology makes some skills more valuable and it makes some skills less valuable. Right? Sometimes in my face-to-face class, I show a video from the Porsche factory, because why not? And they talk about, video shows like all these robots like grabbing chassis and moving them around and doing all the welding. Most of the welding at Porsche is done by robot. There's not as many human welders at that factory. Now here's the thing. Those welders still make good money. There are still welders. There's just not as many of them. We need fewer welders because robots are really good at welding. Porsche also talks about their hand-stitched leather seats. Why? Because robots are terrible at leather. Robots cannot sew. Floppy stuff, not so good for robots. So all that work is done by hand. One skill was made less valuable, one skill was made more valuable based on that. In fact, actually the skill that was made more valuable is the maintenance of the robots, right? And you see that all over the place. Our economy needs fewer secretaries. Why? Because I have Siri on my smartphone, or Google or Alexa or whatever the heck you use, right? I don't need a secretary as much as I maybe did 20 or 30 years ago. But We have jobs in graphic design, web design. All of those jobs didn't exist 20 or 30 years ago. So some skills more valuable, some skills less valuable. The important thing for you is you are in community college, learning how to do something because you want to enter a career. So what are you going to do, and how likely is that to be valuable in 10 years from now? You don't want to choose a career with a dead end. If you were thinking about driving a truck for a living, now we're probably still going to need truck drivers, but automated driving technology, that would scare me. If that's your goal, just know where the technology is, right? Where it's going, so that you can make a good decision for the next 10 years. There are some people that, they're kind of already stuck in a position, and you're going to be competing maybe with a group of people that have a lot of experience for fewer and fewer positions. Instead, if you choose an area that's growing, that's probably going to be a better choice. All right. So that directly leads into our discussion for Chapter 1. Our discussion is on navigating the modern economy. I'm going to show you how to use 2 different resources, one of which it's actually just sort of a fluffy study that was done by a university, but it shows the value of different majors in college. So if you're an accounting major, how much do they make on average? If you're a social work major, how much do they make on average, etc. Because remember, most people don't necessarily, you get a degree. Just because you have a degree in chemistry doesn't mean you're going to become a chemist. What it means is that you're probably great at math, you're highly organized, etc., and you might end up being the perfect person for a different position, right? So point being, based on the degree, how well do people do? Next is a source that comes straight from the state of California, where they actually develop occupational guides for lots of different occupations. And so you can see, hey, I want to be a school teacher, I want to be an accountant, I want to be a web designer, I want to be a computer programmer. Not a bad choice. You can see, what the job prospects are. What's the median income for somebody who has that position right now in the state of California? What's the median income for somebody in Fresno County who has that job? Because it varies by county, right? Our cost of living is less. Computer programmers, for instance, it's about $103,000 on average, like the median for the state. In Fresno, it's like 86. And here's the thing, 86,000 in Fresno, not bad, right? It's actually probably better than making 103 in San Francisco. Now, granted, San Francisco is probably much higher than 103, but regardless, the idea being, you can see sort of localized how well people are doing who have that position, right? Assumes you can actually get the job. Also, how many positions do we think it's going to grow in the next 5 to 10 years, right? So seeing that growth, point being, there's a lot of people who are studying various aspects of our economy based on how technology is changing stuff. So take a look and see, is what I want to do going to be more or less valuable? And here's the general rule of thumb. If the thing you want to do doesn't require creativity, doesn't require empathy and working with other people, it's probably a job that can be done by a machine at some point. Thought, original thought, those sorts of things are things that computers can't do very well yet. So anyway, take a look at the occupational guides, look at the prompt and the video showing you how to use those 2 resources in the week 1 module, and that's your discussion for the week. And I don't think I mentioned it, but you probably guessed it already. There's a quiz on Chapter 1. 20 questions, multiple choice, shouldn't take you long. Command F or Control F. As far as my IT lab, we have 4 labs this week. That's a little bit more, which is why we're doing only 1 chapter. The first one is on Windows 10. So it just sort of walks you quickly through how to do Windows 10. There is no practical exam associated with that lab. It is a standalone lab, but can be helpful for people who are getting a new computer, whatever. You don't necessarily know how to use Windows 10, or maybe you just don't know how to do particular things in Windows 10. Anyway, Windows 10 lab, that's the first one. The other 3 labs are the 3 labs for Word. So now you know how to use Word, probably. You're a student. You've written a paper at some point. There's also a lot of other features in Word that maybe you don't know how to use. And so Word Lab 1, hopefully you can fly through that because it should be stuff you're fairly familiar with. But then when it comes to stuff like references and keeping track of resources, those sorts of things, hopefully that becomes new information for you. So regardless, we're doing all 3 labs in Word here in week 1, and then next week we'll do the practical exam on Word, and that'll be no labs next week. All right? So Word and Windows labs this week. And that is it. Again, week 1, most important thing, get into my IT lab as soon as possible. That would be great. 2-week free trial if you need it. Don't delay because you don't have the money. Jump in and start now because you don't want to fall behind in an accelerated course. All right? If you have any questions, email me or send me a message through Canvas, brian.baker@fresnocitycollege.edu. And yeah, hopefully the discussion is good this week. I'll see you online.